All the guys were jealous of me, saying I was going abroad with a beautiful female CEO and that I was damn lucky. The plane crashed onto a deserted island. The CEO went missing, and the flight attendant survived. The two of us relied on each other to survive, drilled wood for fire, and went into the sea to catch fish. She became more and more dependent on me. That night, nestled in my arms, she said, "Wang Yuan, there's actually something I've been hiding from you." I said, "What is it?" She leaned close to my ear and softly said one sentence. My whole body went numb. She said, "Actually, I was the one who shot this plane down. My name is Wang Yuan, former paratrooper special forces of the southeastern military region of Huaguo. After retiring from the military, I was assigned to Zhongluan Group as a security guard. In less than a month, I was promoted to deputy squad leader, mainly responsible for training. So I didn't need to stand guard or patrol, and life was fairly easy. That day, the company held a meeting and said they were expanding business in Africa, and the CEO would take key staff from each department there. The head of security brought it up at the meeting. Public security in Africa isn't good, so security personnel had to be assigned. It was originally supposed to be the captain going, but then the chairman made one stroke of the pen and said Wang Yuan had just retired. So I was the perfect fit, and just like that, my name was put forward. I had no idea about any of this the whole time. When the plane got into trouble over the Atlantic, I was sitting in my seat resting with my eyes closed. First, the broadcast crackled. Then the captain's voice could no longer stay steady. "All electronic devices have failed. We've lost contact with the control tower." Screams erupted through the cabin, and a strange electromagnetic buzzing came from the luggage compartment. The fuselage shook violently, and the altimeter dropped like crazy. 10,000 meters, 9,000 meters, 8,000 meters. I gripped the armrest tightly, and one last thought flashed through my mind. Damn, I haven't even been in love yet. Boom. Then I couldn't hear anything anymore. When I woke up, half my body was soaking in seawater, and my mouth was full of salty, fishy taste. I struggled ashore and lay on the sand panting for a long while. Looking up, I saw a big moon hanging in the sky, and the sea shimmered brightly, almost dazzling. I sat up and looked around. More than 200 square meters, ringed by reefs, with a small patch of beach in the middle, and everywhere else was covered in pitch-black rocks. Not a blade of grass grew there, let alone trees. Even moss was nowhere to be seen. A full lap around it took less than 10 minutes. I checked my pockets. My cigarettes and lighter had been confiscated at the airport. All that was left was a soaked ID card, a passport, and half a pack of tissues wet enough to wring water from. The luminous watch on my wrist was still running, 11:42. The first lesson of Special Forces Wilderness Survival Training. Panic means death. I took a deep breath and stood up. First, find food and stay alive. I felt my way along the cracks in the reef. The reef on the left was lower, and just as I climbed up, a flash suddenly flickered on the sea. Focusing my eyes, I saw a large foam board floating 200 meters away with a person lying on it, wearing a flight attendant uniform. I didn't hesitate and dove straight in. Only when I swam closer did I see clearly that it was a young woman, her face deathly pale, but her chest was still rising slightly. Dragging both her and the board, I swam back to shore. I checked her breathing. She was still alive. Chest compressions, rescue breathing. By the third round, she suddenly coughed and spat out several mouthfuls of seawater. "You're awake." I sat beside her, drenched from head to toe. She opened her eyes, looked at me weakly, then looked around. "Where is this?" The plane crashed. The two of us fell into the sea, and now we're on a reef island. She slowly sat up and rubbed her temples. "You saved me? Who else would it be?" I smiled a little. "My name is Wang Yuan, Yuan as in water source. What's your name?" "Rin Yuan Yuan." She lowered her head to look at her flight attendant uniform. Her stockings were torn, yet her high heels were still on her feet. "Both our names have Yuan in them, so I guess we're fated." I stood up. "Are you hurt anywhere? Can you walk?" She moved her limbs a bit. "I'm okay, no broken bones." "All right then, let's split up and see if we can find anything to eat." After taking a couple of steps, I noticed there was no movement behind me. When I turned around, she was carefully inching along the reef in her high heels. "Forgot about that. Just stay here and rest. This island is small enough to see end to end at a glance. I'll be back soon." She nodded with a flushed face. I felt my way around the shoreline. I turned over some rocks and found a few small crabs, too tiny to eat raw. There were oysters hanging on the reef wall, pretty big ones, and I knocked down more than a dozen with a rock. In less than half an hour, I had walked all the way around the shore, and this was all I found. I went back, pried open the oysters, and handed them to her. "So fresh." She took a bite, her eyes lighting up. "I've never had oysters this delicious before." They're wild, of course they're fresh. It'd be even better with horseradish. Did you often eat wild stuff before? During field training in the army, going several days without anything to eat was pretty normal. I've eaten wild rabbits, snakes, and rats raw. If it really came down to it, earthworms and grasshoppers too. Her face went pale. Stop talking, I feel like throwing up. I quickly shut up. After a while, she looked at me curiously. What kind of soldier were you? Infantry, field army. You're lying. Infantry isn't as exaggerated as what you're describing. She curled her lip. I smiled and didn't explain. The two of us lay on the beach, using our arms as pillows and watching the moon. The sea was as still as a mirror. The moon reflected on it, impossibly round. It's past midnight, I said. It's Mid-Autumn Festival now. Happy Mid-Autumn Festival. She replied softly. Happy Mid-Autumn Festival. Get some sleep. Maybe when it gets light, the rescue team will come. The two of us drifted off half asleep. At daybreak, I woke up from the cold. The sea wind chilled you right to the bones. I checked my watch, 6:10. Yuan was sleeping soundly, curled up. I took off my jacket and covered her with it, then walked to the shore to rinse my mouth. Just as I straightened up, I spotted a dark object floating on the sea 300 meters away. A suitcase. I stripped off my shirt and pants and dove into the sea in my underwear. I swam over, grabbed the suitcase, and dragged it back, hearing Yuan calling my name from the beach, her voice trembling with tears. She rushed into the water and threw her arms around my neck. I thought you'd left. Sob, sob. All right, stop crying. Look what I fished up. Only then did she realize I was wearing nothing but a pair of underwear, and her face instantly turned red all the way to the base of her neck. She let go and turned to run. I got dressed and carried the suitcase up. The suitcase didn't have a combination lock, so I opened it directly. Inside were several sets of men's clothes, canvas shoes and sneakers, all size 42, which happened to fit me. The toiletry bag had soap, facial cleanser, and dental supplies, plus a power bank and charging cable, though they're useless as hell here. There was also a set of keys with a multifunction fruit knife hanging from it. There was a pile of medicine too, cold medicine, anti-inflammatory medicine, and band-aids. There was also a box, Durex. Yuan's face turned red again, and she grabbed the box to throw it into the sea. Don't throw it away. I stopped her. On a deserted island. It might come in handy. Bah, pervert. She turned and walked off. I laughed and kept rummaging through the suitcase. There was also a black tracksuit inside, pretty thin, something either a man or a woman could wear. I took the clothes over and handed them to her. It's not convenient for you to walk on the reef in high heels. Go change behind those rocks over there. Humph. She snatched the clothes and hid behind the rocks. While she was changing, I went back to the shore for another look around, pried open more than a dozen oysters, and picked up 4 sea urchins. When I came back, she had already changed into the tracksuit and was sitting on the beach, staring blankly at the sea. The tracksuit was a bit too big, with the sleeves and pant legs rolled up several layers, making her look like a child sneaking into an adult's clothes. Here, eat something. I pried open an oyster and handed it to her, and used a key to scoop out the roe from the sea urchin. How do you eat this? She frowned at the sea urchin. I scooped up a bite and put it in my mouth. Just eat it like this. It's delicious, kind of like sashimi. Be careful not to prick your hand. She copied me and scooped up a bite, her eyes widening. So good, so sweet. By the time we finished eating, the sun had risen, and the heat was making us dizzy. I'm so thirsty. Yuan licked her cracked lips. Is there any way to get fresh water? Indeed, fresh water was the biggest problem. A person can last 7 days without food, but without water, they'd die in 3 days. I looked around and fixed my gaze on the tallest reef. I'll go take a look up there. Wait for me. The reef was more than 10 meters high, and several rocks below happened to form a slope. When I climbed up, I saw a natural hollow at the top, with half a pit of rainwater collected in it. The water was very murky, and there were even little bugs swimming inside. I dipped a little and tasted it. It was fresh water. It must have been stored from the rain a few days ago, and hadn't completely evaporated yet. Yuan, there's fresh water. I shouted down below. Really? Pull me up. She ran over excitedly, but after only 2 steps, she fell to the ground with a thud. Tears streamed down her face. Whoa. I rushed down and helped her up. The skin on her left elbow was scraped, and her left ankle was swollen badly. Whoa, am I going to be crippled? She cried so hard her makeup was all smeared. Don't be scared. No bones are injured, you just twisted it. I had her sit properly, held her wrist with my right hand, and slowly rolled up her sleeve with my left. Her forearm was fair, tender, and slender. It was only a scrape, nothing serious. Then I placed her left foot on my leg and took off her high heel. Her delicate ankle was already swollen all around. Does it hurt here? I gently pressed the outside of her ankle. No. How about here? Ouch. It hurts right there. She hissed. I understood then. It was just displaced. The ligament wasn't injured. Look, there's a boat over there. I suddenly pointed behind her. She turned her head in surprise. With one hand gripping her ankle and the other holding her foot, I twisted and pushed. Crack. Ah, she let out a sharp scream. They are done. Try it. Does it still hurt? She froze for a moment, then carefully rotated her ankle. Huh. It doesn't hurt anymore. How do you even know how to set bones? I used to go to foot massage parlors a lot and learned it from the girls there. Later I'll give you a foot bath package. Not 398, not 298, only 98. At first she didn't get it. After thinking for 2 seconds, her face instantly turned red. Bah, pervert. Come on, I'll carry you over. She climbed onto my back, and I held her thighs as I walked back to where we'd left the suitcase, and gently set her down. I opened the suitcase, found a Band-Aid, tore it open, held her left hand, and carefully put it over the wound. Thank you, Wang Yuan. It's fine. No need to be so polite. I picked up 4 mineral water bottles and a fruit knife, then climbed back up that reef. Using the small knife, I cut one bottle open to use as a cup, threw away the upper half, and kept the lower half to use as a scoop and funnel. I scooped water out of the rock hollow and poured it into the bottles, filling 4 bottles in a row. The water was as muddy as thin mud soup. Back down, I dug out that white t-shirt from the suitcase. It was pure cotton, so I spread it over the mouth of the cup as filter cloth. I poured a bottle of water through the cloth. The sand and small bugs were caught on top, and although the water flowing through was still a bit yellow, it was drinkable now. I handed 1 cup to her and gulped down one myself. This water tastes a little earthy. She licked her lips. It's good enough that we have something to drink. I filtered the rest of the water too, poured it into the bottles, and put them in a cool place in the shade between the rocks. Let's save this bottle. If it doesn't rain tomorrow, this will be all the water we have. Looking up at the sun, it was already overhead. The temperature was probably 35 or 36 degrees, and the sun had heated the reef until it was scorching. Stay here. I'll look around and see if there's a better place to stay. This beach can burn you alive once the sun beats down on it. When I went around to the back of the tallest reef, I found an unexpected surprise. A huge slanted rock was leaning against the main reef, forming a herringbone-shaped space underneath. Inside was about 7 or 8 square meters, with dry, level ground. There was a slight breeze from both sides, and the sun couldn't shine in, making it more than 10 degrees cooler than outside. There were also a few small rocks blocking the entrance outside, so unless you looked carefully, you wouldn't even notice there was a cave here. A natural shelter. It blocked wind, rain, and sun, simply perfect. I ran back excitedly. Yuan, there's a rock crevice over there we can stay in. We won't have to sit in the sun anymore. I carried her over. As soon as she sat down inside and looked around, she froze too. Wow, it's so cool in here. It's like the air conditioner is on. Heaven is really looking out for us. I moved the suitcase in as well and spread my jacket on the ground for her to sit on. Get some rest first. I'll go look for food. Be careful. When I reached the mouth of the cave, I looked back. She was sitting curled up on the jacket, the sleeves of her tracksuit rolled up several layers. Her hair blown into a mess by the sea breeze, staring at me without moving. Outside was the vast ocean, without a single boat in sight. The fierce sun beat down on the reef, and you could hear the faint crackling sounds of the rocks splitting from the heat. On the sea there was nothing but waves and wind, not even a seabird. Food, fresh water, fire, a distress signal. There was still a lot to do, but at least for now, there was a place to shelter from the wind and rain, and someone to talk to. That was enough. I'm going to look for food. Wait for me a bit. Wang Yuan walked along the rocky shore, pried off a few oysters and stuffed them into his pocket, and saw a 5-liter plastic peanut oil jug wedged in a rock crevice. The inside greasy but empty. He quickly picked it up, opened the cap, filled it with seawater, threw in a handful of sand, and shook it hard until it was clean. Then used his knife to cut 2 large symmetrical holes in the upper part so it could be carried. He put the oysters inside and carried the oil jug as he circled along the shore and came back, having also picked up another peanut oil jug and half a bucket of seafood. Wow, so much seafood. And I also found 2 buckets. More than a dozen oysters, 2 sea urchins, several mussels, and 1 big trumpet shell. The trumpet shell was very hard, so Wang Yuan smashed it open with a rock, rinsed the snail meat clean with seawater, sliced it thinly with a small knife, and the 2 of them shared it. They ate the rest of the seafood too. Phew, I'm so full. Rin Yuanyuan said, rubbing her belly. Get some rest. I'll go take a look up there. Wang Yuan spread out the foam board and signaled for Rin Yuanyuan to lie down. Okay. Rin Yuanyuan took a jacket as a pillow and lay down. Wang Yuan climbed back onto the reef and stood on top looking around. Suddenly, in the southeast, there was a gray blur that looked like an island, but it was too far away to see clearly. Most likely an island. Yuanyuan. Yuanyuan. Quick, there's an island. Wang Yuan immediately shouted down. Where? Rin Yuanyuan sprang up with a start and rushed out, practically hopping. Over there. Wang Yuan pointed southeast. Rin Yuanyuan looked over and could vaguely make out a gray shadow. She waved at Wang Yuan and said, Quick, pull me up. Wang Yuan jumped down and asked, Does your foot still hurt? Just a little. It's already much better. Wang Yuan could only carefully pull Rin Yuanyuan up along the slope. The two of them looked toward the southeast. It's probably an island, and there are likely many visible and hidden reefs around it, Wang Yuan said. You really do know quite a lot. Hee. Wang Yuan scratched his head. We have to figure out a way to get over there. We can't last more than a few days in this place. If the tide comes in, we might get flooded. How do we get there? By swimming. Do you know how to swim? I do, but I can't swim very far. Then it's settled. We'll swim over tomorrow. There won't be sharks in the sea, right? Can't guarantee that. We'll have to rely on luck. Who knows when the rescue team will arrive? We can't just wait here to die. We'll run out of seafood here very soon, and there's no fresh water. All right. It's not good for us to keep eating everything raw. I'll go down and find something to eat and dry some of it, so we can bring it with us tomorrow and eat it on the way. Are you going down to rest? You go ahead. I'll sit here for a while. Wang Yuan jumped down, carrying the oil drum, and wandered off to the seaside. Rin Yuanyuan sat for a while and watched Wang Yuan tapping at something on the rocks by the shore, a sweet smile appearing at the corners of her mouth. After watching for a while, she stood up and carefully climbed down, slowly walked onto the beach, took off her high heels and set them aside, and with her little bare feet, walked to the water's edge, rolled her pant legs high up to reveal her slender calves, took out her stockings from her pocket, and rinsed them in the seawater. Suddenly it felt like she had stepped on something. She reached down to feel for it, fished it up and looked at it. Ha, clam. And not a small one, either. She hurried back to shore, laid the stockings on a rock to dry, then ran back and slowly felt around with her feet, probing carefully. And after a while she bent down and fished out another clam. Rin Yuanyuan was so happy she jumped up. About half an hour later, Wang Yuan came over carrying the oil drum, and, seeing Rin Yuanyuan laughing and jumping about, asked, What are you doing? Look, what is this? Rin Yuanyuan pulled out a handful of clams from her pocket and handed them to Wang Yuan, showing off. Awesome. Hee. Rin Yuanyuan grabbed another handful of clams from her other pocket and handed them over. Wang Yuan took them and put them into the oil drum, saying, These are white clams. The patterns on them are very pretty. Let's go dry these in the sun. Okay. The two found a flat big rock and dumped all the seafood from the oil drum onto it. More than 20 mussels, more than 20 oysters, 15 or 16 white clams, 4 or 5 conchs, 4 or 5 spicy sea snails, and more than a dozen other small sea snails. The two smashed them open with rocks, picked out the meat, and laid it on the rock to dry in the sun. Phew. Wang Yuan stood up and let out a breath. What shoe size do you wear? 36. Why? Rest for a bit and wait for me. After saying that, Wang Yuan ran back to the rock shelter, opened the suitcase, found that pair of sneakers, and then found 2 pairs of men's underwear. Hell, whatever. He tore the 2 pairs of underwear apart and pulled out the elastic bands, stuffed the scraps of cloth into the 2 shoes, patted the front and back, then carried them over and handed them to Rin Yuanyuan. Here, try them on. If they don't fit, I'll adjust them. Rin Yuanyuan took them and put them on, then stood up and tried them out. Haha, they fit perfectly. You're amazing. Smack. Rin Yuanyuan threw herself in front of Wang Yuan and planted a kiss on his cheek. Wang Yuan touched his face. Sorry, I got too excited, thank you. Rin Yuanyuan blushed all the way down to her neck. Well, I found a tidal pool over there, and there's quite a bit of seafood in it. Let's go get some for dinner tonight. Wang Yuan said, pointing east. As he spoke, he turned and walked over. After a few steps, he turned back and said, Well, help me carry that bucket, okay? Then he walked off again. Uffed. Rin Yuanyuan covered her flushed face and suddenly laughed. She picked up the oil drum and followed. Ouch. Rin Yuanyuan cast Wang Yuan a sly glance and called out. My foot still hurts a little. How about you rest here for a bit? I'll go over there myself. It's fine, It's only a little over 10 meters away. Well, should I carry you over there? No need, just give me a hand. Rin Yuanyuan thought to herself. What a straight guy. Rin Yuanyuan held out her right hand to Wang Yuan, and Wang Yuan had no choice but to reach out and take her hand, supporting her carefully as they walked forward. When they reached the edge of a tidal pool, he helped Rin Yuanyuan sit on a rock. This is a tidal pool. At high tide, a lot of seafood gets washed in, and at low tide, it gets blocked by the rocks all around, so the seafood can't get out. Oh, sit here, and I'll catch the seafood and toss it over. You can put it away. Okay. Wang Yuan took off his shoes and socks, rolled up his pant legs, and slowly stepped down from the edge of the pool into the water. The water wasn't deep. Even at its deepest, it only reached his knees. Wang Yuan slowly bent down and carefully felt around in the water with his hands. After a while, he found 2 sea snails the size of fists and tossed them to Rin Yuanyuan. Catch! Wang Yuan threw them to Rin Yuanyuan's feet. Aha! Rin Yuanyuan laughed happily as she picked them up and put them into the oil drum. Catch! Another fist-sized thing flew toward Rin Yuanyuan. The two of them were only 3 or 4 meters apart, and the thing wasn't thrown fast. It was only when it got close that Rin Yuanyuan saw clearly that it was a sea urchin, and she quickly pulled back the hand she had reached out. You're so annoying. Ha! Wang Yuan burst out laughing. You pest. Stupid Wang Yuan. Smelly Wang Yuan. How dare you bully me? How dare you bully me? Pouting, Rin Yuanyuan squatted by the tidal pool and splashed water at Wang Yuan. Wang Yuan quickly raised his hands in surrender. I surrender, I surrender. Mercy, heroine. Rin Yuanyuan turned her head away and ignored him. Wang Yuan hurried over, picked up the sea urchin, and went in front of Rin Yuanyuan. Look, the spines on this sea urchin aren't sharp. At such a short distance, and since I didn't throw it hard, it wouldn't have pricked your hand, but it would still hurt a lot. All right, I was wrong. Please spare me, heroine. To let the heroine get revenge, I've decided to kill this sea urchin and let the heroine eat it raw. Wang Yuan viciously pulled out a small knife and went for the sea urchin. How dare you bully my Yuanyuan? How dare you bully my Yuanyuan? In just a few quick moves, he pried open the sea urchin and handed it to Rin Yuanyuan, saying in a shrill voice, This servant has already executed the culprit by death of 1,000 cuts. Your Highness, please dine at ease. Rin Yuanyuan couldn't help laughing out loud. She took the sea urchin and the small knife. Your Highness, this servant will now go prepare dinner for your Highness. Rin Yuanyuan then put on a stern face and said, Xiao Yuanzi, I am tired. You may withdraw now. Yes, your Highness. Wang Yuan quickly cupped his hands and withdrew. Wang Yuan went back down into the tidal pool and continued catching seafood. Rin Yuanyuan finished the sea urchin in a few bites. Wang Yuan felt around and tossed up a sea eggplant, which Rin Yuanyuan grabbed. Sea cucumber. This is sea cucumber. Wild sea cucumber. Rin Yuanyuan cried out. This is called sea eggplant, a kind of sea cucumber. Rin Yuanyuan didn't sit anymore and instead squatted by the tidal pool watching. The water in the pool was very clear, and you could see the bottom at a glance. After a while, she pointed to one side. There's a sea urchin over there. Then she pointed to the other side. Quick, there's a sea snail over there. Look, there's a big lobster over there. Rin Yuanyuan pointed to one spot and said, Shoo, quiet. Wang Yuan carefully moved closer, slowly bringing both hands near the lobster, then suddenly grabbed its back and lifted it up. Wang Yuan laughed loudly. Yay! Rin Yuanyuan jumped up, waving her arms in excitement. Wang Yuan quickly ran ashore and put the big lobster into the oil drum. This big lobster was as large as a small arm. He went back to the tidal pool and caught some more sea urchins and sea snails. That's enough, no more catching. The remaining fish, shrimp, and crabs aren't suitable for eating raw. Let's go back. Okay. Rin Yuanyuan was extremely happy. Wang Yuan looked at his watch. It was past 6. He poured some seawater into the oil drum and helped Rin Yuanyuan back to the stone cave. The two of them split open the big lobster and sliced it to eat. Then ate a few more sea urchins and sea snails and were full. I need to relieve myself, Rin Yuanyuan said, blushing. Then go behind that reef. I'll go check on the seafood that's drying. Wang Yuan handed her a pack of tissues. Oh, okay, thank you. Rin Yuanyuan took the tissues and went around behind the reef. Wang Yuan picked up a t-shirt, walked to the place where the seafood was drying. The seafood was all dried, so he wrapped it in the t-shirt, then saw the stockings drying nearby and took them back together. He put away the wrapped seafood. Just then Rin Yuan also came back, so he handed the stockings to her. Rin Yuan took them with a red face and put them into her pocket. I'm going to sit on the reef for a while. Are you coming? Let's go together. Wang Yuan took Rin Yuan to the reef, and they sat down side by side. It wasn't completely dark yet, but the moon had already risen. A gentle breeze was blowing, and it felt quite cool. Happy Mid-Autumn Festival, Wang Yuan said. Happy Mid-Autumn Festival. Wang Yuan lay down with his head resting on his arm, looking at the moon in the sky, and Rin Yuan followed suit and lay down too. The sky gradually grew dark, but the moon was round and bright, and by the moonlight they could see the surroundings. The two lay quietly on the reef, looking at the moon in the sky. Brother Yuan, how old are you this year? It was the first time Rin Yuan had called Wang Yuan Brother Yuan, and it felt very awkward. I'm 23. What about you? I'm 21. What do you do? I was in the army for 5 years and was discharged at the end of last year, after being back for more than half a year and not finding a job. Later, my superior in the army got me into a company as a security guard. I'd only been there less than 2 months when the company started developing overseas business and organized some key staff to go to Africa to set up the framework for a branch office. And then so many things happened. I just can't figure out what a little security guard like me could do in setting up a branch office. Then do you miss home? I already miss my mom and dad. I'm an orphan. I grew up in an orphanage. Oh, I'm sorry. It's okay. Then do you have a girlfriend? Rin Yuan turned to look at Wang Yuan. No. At that moment, a figure appeared in Wang Yuan's mind, with 2 pigtails, flashing big eyes, standing under the big tree at the entrance of the orphanage, wiping tears with one hand, and waving with the other as she cried out, Brother, you must come back to find Xiao and I. Before he knew it, a tear slid from the corner of his eye, but Rin Yuan didn't notice. At this time, the wind gradually grew stronger. Let's go down. I'm a little cold, Rin Yuan said. Wang Yuan sat up and looked into the distance. At this time the waves had grown larger, and a white line was rolling in from afar. That was a huge wave. Oh no, the tide is coming in. Quick, go down and pack up our things. Wang Yuan shouted. Huh. Rin Yuan stood up, looking completely bewildered. Hurry, stop standing there. Wang Yuan quickly pulled her down. At a spot about 2 meters above the ground on the slope, there was a small platform. Wang Yuan said, Wait here. After speaking, he jumped down. He hurriedly ran back to the stone cave, grabbed the suitcase and an oil drum. He ran back and threw them onto the platform. Catch! Then he ran back again, picked up the foam board and another oil drum, and threw them up. He went back into the cave again and grabbed several bottles of mineral water. And after checking that there was nothing else, only then did he climb onto the reef. By this time, seawater had already risen into the cave, and it was still rising at a visible speed. The two of them carried everything to the top of the reef together. The seawater won't rise up here, will it? Rin Yuan asked. It won't. How do you know? Because I got fresh water up here. Oh, Rin Yuan thought about it and understood. After a while, the wind died down, and the waves gradually became smaller as well. The seawater rose to within 5 or 6 meters below them and then gradually stopped rising. I'm so thirsty. Then drink a little less. We need to save more for tomorrow. Wang Yuan took out the filtered water, unscrewed the cap, and handed it to Rin Yuan. Okay. Rin Yuan took it and drank 2 sips, then handed it back. Wang Yuan took it and, without even looking, drank straight from the bottle opening. This counts as an indirect kiss, right? Rin Yuan blushed bright red with embarrassment. Wang Yuan opened the suitcase and took out a jacket, draping it over Rin Yuan. Thank you. Rin Yuan lowered her head with a red face, her voice as soft as a mosquito's buzz. Wang Yuan spread out the foam board and said, Tonight we'll just have to make do here. Get some rest. Rin Yuan curled up and lay down on the foam board. Wang Yuan found another suit jacket in the suitcase and covered Rin Yuan with it. Wang Yuan stood up and looked around. The seawater was slowly receding, and it was now already 7 or 8 meters below them, but the cave was still submerged. Suddenly, he saw something floating in the sea. By the moonlight, he could make out a dim gray shape, more than 200 meters away. Wang Yuan hurriedly took off his shoes and clothes, dove headfirst into the sea, and swam toward the floating object. After lying there for a while, Rin Yuan felt that there wasn't a sound and looked up. Where was he? She stood up suspiciously and looked around, then saw Wang Yuan swimming in the water, almost at the floating object. She couldn't help but smile, cupped her hands around her mouth, and shouted to Wang Yuan. Wang Yuan, go, go, Wang Yuan. Wang Yuan was speechless in the sea. It's not like I'm in a competition. When he got close, he discovered it was a blue backpack. Delighted, he grabbed it and swam back. When he swam back to the reef, Rin Yuan was still shouting. All right. Stop yelling. Wang Yuan climbed to the top, opened the suitcase, and found a disposable towel in a corner inside. Roughly wiped his hair, then wiped his body, put on his clothes, and opened it to see what was inside. Humph. I know you have abs, show off. Rin Yuan muttered. Wang Yuan opened the backpack and saw several women's clothes and a pair of women's hiking shoes inside, though they were all soaked. There was also a sealed plastic box, a storage container. The backpack probably hadn't sunk because of the box's buoyancy. There was also a bag of chocolate and some biscuits and other snacks. He took out the box. There was a clasp on each of the four sides. And when he opened it, there were several bottles of cosmetics inside, along with a toiletry bag. Inside the toiletry bag were a bar of soap, a comb, toothpaste, a toothbrush, and so on. In a small inner pocket of the backpack, he also found some medicine and several thousand yuan in cash, as well as a roll of toilet paper and a pack of sanitary pads. He poured everything out and set it aside to dry. Well, this backpack will be yours from now on. Rin Yuan's face turned red again. Wang Yuan raised his wrist to look and said, It's 12 o'clock. Get some rest. We still have to go to that island over there tomorrow. As he spoke, he took out 2 pairs of pants from the suitcase, rolled them up as pillows, and lay down. You sleep first, Rin Yuan said. Then she went to rummage through the plastic box again, which was full of cosmetics and toiletries. Wang Yuan paid her no mind and soon fell asleep. Early the next morning, just as day was breaking, Wang Yuan woke up, raised his hand to check his watch, and it was only 6 o'clock. This was a habit he had developed in the military, waking up punctually at 6 every day. He got up and looked around. Rin Yuan was sleeping soundly under the suit jacket. By then the seawater had long since receded. He opened the suitcase, took the toiletry bag, jumped down from the reef and went around behind a large rock to take care of some personal business. Then walked onto the beach and came to the seaside. Cupped some seawater to rinse his mouth, squeezed a bit of toothpaste onto his finger, and brushed his teeth directly with his finger. There was a toothbrush inside, but he felt uncomfortable using it. After brushing his teeth, he washed his face with soap and returned to the rock cave, put down the toiletry bag, and climbed onto the reef. He gathered up all the things that had been laid out to dry and took them into the rock cave, then sat down, looking at the distant eastern sea. After a while, the morning glow gradually rose in the east, breathtakingly beautiful and magnificent. Yuan, wake up! Wang Yuan turned his head and shouted. It's daylight. Rin Yuan rubbed her eyes and got up. Come quickly and watch the sunrise. It's so beautiful. If only there were a phone, I'd really like to take a picture. Rin Yuan walked over to Wang Yuan's side and looked at the morning glow in the east. After a while, the sun rose. Wang Yuan looked at his watch. Well, let's go down, Wang Yuan said. As he spoke, he picked up the suitcase and backpack and went down. Idiot, you don't know how to appreciate it. Rin Yuan stuck out her tongue at Wang Yuan's back and muttered. Then she carried the 2 oil drums and followed Wang Yuan down. Wang Yuan put the things down, then went back up onto the reef and brought down the remaining items. Well, take off your shoes first and change into that pair. Change your clothes too. In a moment, I'll go to the seaside to get things ready, Wang Yuan said. Rin Yuan took off her shoes and handed them to Wang Yuan. In a moment, go to the seaside and wash up. I'll go over there and get things ready. Wang Yuan took the shoes, pulled out the scraps of cloth from inside, and said, Wang Yuan put the shoes into the suitcase, put the scraps of cloth into his pocket, picked up the foam board and the mineral water bottles, and went out carrying an oil drum. Rin Yuan quickly opened the backpack and changed her clothes. Wang Yuan went around to the southeast side, found a rock to sit on, took out the scraps of cloth and tore them up, then tied them into cloth strips, and tied the 3 mineral water bottles and the oil drum to the 4 corners of the foam board. He set the things down and walked back. Rin Yuan was still washing up by the beach. Wang Yuan gathered up the clothes and shoes, stuffed them all into the suitcase, carried it to the foam board, and tied it to the side of the foam board with cloth strips. The suitcase was waterproof, so it should be fine. Wang Yuan returned to the rock cave, and Rin Yuan also came back, carrying the plastic storage box. She had changed into sneakers, jeans, and a t-shirt, without wearing a jacket, but her figure was fully on display. Well, let's eat something and then set off. Wang Yuan withdrew his gaze. Okay, A faint smile hung at the corner of Ren Yuanyuan's mouth. Wang Yuan picked up the modified oil drum, inside which a dozen or so oysters and several sea urchins were soaking in seawater. He poured the contents out, and the two of them finished eating after a while. "Let's go," Wang Yuan said, then put the plastic box into the backpack, slung the backpack onto his back, and kicked the oil drum away with one foot. Okay. The two of them walked to the foam board in the southeast. Wang Yuan opened the suitcase and took out a belt from inside. "Come, let me tie this on you so you won't sink." As he spoke, he used the belt to fasten it to Ren Yuanyuan's arm and tightly secured the oil drum tied to the foam board with the elastic band pulled from his underwear. Using the belt tied to Ren Yuanyuan's arm, "Take off your shoes, I'll carry them," Wang Yuan said. Okay. The two took off their shoes and put them into the backpack. Wang Yuan carried it and shouted, "Let's go." The two of them carried the foam board and suitcase and rushed into the sea. Ren Yuanyuan laughed loudly. "Huh? We're setting sail?" The two held onto the foam board and suitcase and slowly swam southeast. "Brother Yuan, do you think there are any survivors on that island?" "I don't know either, but the plane crashed in this area, so there should be." "Then will we run into sharks?" Wang Yuan couldn't quite keep up with that train of thought. "Well, we can only rely on luck." "Oh, if we run into one, we'll beat it to death, then roast shark meat and eat it. And also boil shark fin soup, hee. Wang Yuan was speechless. "Do you think the rescue team will find us?" "They will." Wang Yuan really couldn't keep up with this pretty girl's train of thought. "Where are we now?" "I don't know either." "Aren't you a flight attendant?" "You don't know?" "We cabin crew really don't know. The accident just suddenly happened." "Did you hear any strange sounds at that time? Or notice any suspicious people or things?" No, I think. I only heard an explosion coming from the baggage hold, and then there was nothing after that," Ren Yuanyuan said with a frown. Finally quiet, Wang Yuan thought when he saw her fall into thought. Then he looked around, and to conserve their strength, the two paddled slowly. "Look, that really is an island," Wang Yuan suddenly shouted. "Yay, it really is. Then let's hurry and swim," Ren Yuanyuan said happily. The island indeed looked very large, and because of the angle and distance, it felt to be 5 or 6 kilometers long. "It's 12 now. Let's eat something to replenish our strength, then make one final push. And we should arrive in another 2 or 3 hours." Wang Yuan looked at his watch. "Okay," Ren Yuanyuan said happily. Wang Yuan opened the suitcase, took out the dried seafood wrapped in a t-shirt, and the two shared it. They also finished off more than half a bottle of water between them. The two felt their strength return, and their bodies felt much better too. "Let's do this," Wang Yuan said. Let's go. The two lay on the foam board again and paddled forward. After paddling some distance, they could already see the trees on the island, lush and verdant. To the north of the island were some reefs, and south of the reefs was a beach with a large area. But the beach was grayish-white, and to the south of the beach was a tall cliff, standing vertically in the seawater. Farther south was blocked by the cliff rocks and could not be seen. "Look, there's a piece of clothing over there." Ren Yuanyuan suddenly pointed ahead. The two paddled hard together, and when they got close, Wang Yuan fished up the clothes. It was a white jacket, already torn to pieces, as if it had been ripped apart by something, with several holes in it and quite a lot of bloodstains on it. "Not good. There are ferocious beasts nearby. Let's speed up." Wang Yuan threw away the clothes and said with a frown. Then hurry and paddle," Ren Yuanyuan said. The two quickly paddled with both hands and feet. "Quick, paddle toward the beach. The water is shallow over by the beach," Wang Yuan shouted as he scanned the sea around them. A little later, the two discovered another pair of torn pants, and they only focused on paddling as hard as they could. Suddenly, a huge splash came from behind them. Wang Yuan turned around and saw a large shark leap out of the water and dive back in. The waves it churned up pushed the two of them forward. Luckily, it pushed them toward the shore. They were still more than 200 meters from land. Ren Yuanyuan let out a scream. "Forget the foam board, swim now." Wang Yuan smashed a corner of the foam board tied to the oil drum and gave Ren Yuanyuan a hard push forward. Ren Yuanyuan shot forward 5 or 6 meters, while Wang Yuan himself was pushed back 4 or 5 meters. "Don't look back, paddle hard," Wang Yuan shouted. Ren Yuanyuan screamed in terror. She didn't dare stop moving her hands and feet, paddling hard, her face pale with fright. There were still 50 meters to the shore, but their feet could already touch the seabed. Ren Yuanyuan quickly stood up. The water was already at her waist. She turned around to look behind her. She saw that Wang Yuan was more than 10 meters away from her, gripping the suitcase with his left hand. About 10 meters behind him, a triangular fin protruded from the water and was rapidly heading toward Wang Yuan. Ah! Ren Yuanyuan screamed in fright. Run! Don't worry about me. Ren Yuanyuan hurriedly ran toward the shore. Then she heard a loud bang behind her, followed by a splash, and Wang Yuan landed beside her holding the suitcase. Wang Yuan stood up, shook his head, grabbed Ren Yuanyuan's hand, and ran toward the shore. They finally reached land. The two collapsed on the ground, lying there and gasping for breath. Ha ha! Wang Yuan burst out laughing. Couldn't you just throw away the suitcase? You want your stuff but not your life? Ren Yuanyuan rolled her eyes at him. You don't understand. This suitcase saved my life. He turned the suitcase over and saw that one side was cracked in several places. This suitcase is pretty good quality, definitely domestically made. It turned out that when Wang Yuan realized the shark was about to crash into him, he seized the moment, stood the suitcase upright, twisted and flipped his body, and hid behind it. The shark slammed straight into it, sending both him and the suitcase flying. Wang Yuan recounted what had happened with a cheeky grin. Just show off, why don't you? Ren Yuanyuan rolled her eyes at him. Wang Yuan looked at his watch. It was 3:30. Domestic watches really are good. It didn't get water in it. Wang Yuan stood up and surveyed the island. He spotted 3 coconut trees growing side by side, 5 or 6 meters apart. Haha, coconuts. Wang Yuan pointed at the coconut trees and said, Where? Ren Yuanyuan got up and looked. The two ran to the trees and looked up, only to see that each tree had 7 or 8 coconuts. They're too high. We can't reach them. Ren Yuanyuan looked dejected. Watch me. He spat into his hands and rubbed them together, clenched the fruit knife in his teeth, and climbed up barefoot. Ren Yuanyuan stared in astonishment, mouth agape as she looked upward, only to see that Wang Yuan had reached the top in less than 10 seconds. Stay back, don't get hit. Wang Yuan shouted. A moment later, 6 big coconuts fell down, with 2 still left on the tree. Wang Yuan looked around from the tree and suddenly saw 2 people among the northern reefs. Hey, over here. Come here. Wang Yuan hugged the tree with one hand and waved in that direction with the other. Ren Yuanyuan also looked that way, but because of the angle, she couldn't see anything. The 2 people heard him too, looked over this way, and then ran toward them. Wang Yuan slid down. The 2 sat down, and Wang Yuan used his small knife to cut an opening in 2 coconuts, handed one to Ren Yuanyuan, and the 2 drank while waiting for those 2 people. After a while, the 2 of them came over. Ren Yuanyuan said in surprise, Sister Fong. President Jiang. Wang Yuan said. It turned out that one of them was a flight attendant from the same crew, and the other was Jiang Yin, the beautiful president of Jiangluan Group leading the expansion of overseas business. Ren Yuanyuan stood up and took the flight attendant's hand, saying, So Sister Fong is still alive. That's wonderful. As she spoke, she pulled the flight attendant down to sit. The flight attendant was also very happy, and the 2 chattered away. President Jiang, have a seat. Wang Yuan said. Jiang Yin sat down, saw the coconuts on the ground, and said, Can you give me a coconut? I'll pay you. No need. Wang Yuan said. As he spoke, he used the small knife to pry open 2 coconuts and handed them to Jiang Yin and the flight attendant. The 2 took the coconuts, said thanks, then tilted their heads back and gulped them down. Wang Yuan found a stone and smashed open all 4 coconut shells, revealing the snowy, white coconut flesh inside. Then he handed the small knife to Ren Yuanyuan and started scooping out the coconut flesh with his hands and eating it. The 3 of them looked at Wang Yuan in confusion. Wang Yuan chuckled, then pulled out a ring of keys, took off 2, and handed them to the flight attendant and Jiang Yin, saying, Use these to scoop it out and eat it. After everyone had finished eating the coconut flesh, Wang Yuan said, Let's all introduce ourselves. My name is Wang Yuan. President Jiang is my boss, and I'm just a little security guard at the company. My name is Zhang Lanfang, and I'm a flight attendant on this flight, said the flight attendant. My name is Jiang Yin, president of Jiangluan Group, said Jiang Yin. My name is Ren Yuanyuan, also a flight attendant on this flight. 21 years old this year, unmarried, and my family is from Quancheng. That's enough. It's not like we're here on a blind date. Ren Yuanyuan was interrupted by Zhang Lanfang before she could finish. Ren Yuanyuan's face turned red. Wait for me a moment. I'm going to pick some coconuts. After saying that, Wang Yuan picked up the small knife, clenched it between his teeth, then quickly climbed up the other 2 coconut trees, and threw the coconuts down. Although Ren Yuanyuan had seen it once before, she still stared dumbfounded along with the other 2. Wang Yuan slid down, and when he saw the looks on their faces, he was speechless for a moment. Then he opened the suitcase, handed Ren Yuanyuan her sneakers, and put on his own training boots. There are some clothes inside. Yuanyuan, help them change into something else. Wang Yuan pointed at the suitcase and said, "Okay, well then, I'll go look around and see if I can find something to eat." Carrying his backpack, Wang Yuan picked up the multifunction fruit knife, grabbed the oil drum, and headed toward the jungle. "Sister Fong, Sister Yin, come on, take your pick." Rin Yuan opened the suitcase and said to the two women, "These are dead people's things. I don't want them." Jiang Yin said with a curl of her lip. So pretentious. Wang Yuan had just walked a short distance when he heard that and thought to himself, "Don't mind that sort of thing. We're trying to survive on a deserted island, and who knows when the rescue team will come. Besides, we're all wearing short skirts. There might be poisonous insects or mosquitoes and ants on this island. We lack medicine and medical supplies, so it won't be good if we get bitten," Zhang Lanfang said. Flight attendants had all learned a bit of wilderness survival knowledge, so she also knew how to persuade Jiang Yin. Jiang Yin was wearing a business suit, with a white shirt on top, though it was already dirty, and a black short skirt on the bottom, along with a pair of black stockings that set off her long legs, and on her feet, she wore a pair of black high heels. Zhang Lanfang was wearing a flight attendant uniform, a pair of flesh-colored stockings, and black high heels. Both of them were filthy. "Enough, stop being so pretentious. Just get changed." Rin Yuan glanced in Wang Yuan's direction, saw that he had already gone into the jungle, and said, "Fine." Only then did Jiang Yin reluctantly start looking for clothes, and Zhang Lanfang also began searching. Zhang Lanfang found a women's tracksuit, and Jiang Yin found a pair of women's casual pants and a women's sweatshirt. Then the two of them changed. Wang Yuan walked into the jungle and looked around. Near the beach there was some wormwood grass, farther in were some bushes, and deeper inside were tall woods. Wang Yuan picked up a branch about 2 meters long and, using it to beat the grass, slowly made his way toward the woods. When he reached the edge of the woods, he discovered a clump of cacti, with quite a lot of fruit growing on them, many of which were already ripe. Wang Yuan hurried over to pick the cactus fruit, putting the fruit he picked into his backpack and gathering all the ripe ones. During this time, his hands were pricked by the cactus several times as well. Then Wang Yuan changed direction again and did not enter the forest, because it was getting dark, and the situation in the forest was unclear. He had no idea whether there were any wild beasts. Wang Yuan beat at the grass as he wandered toward the beach from another direction. Along the way, he found quite a few palm trees and banana trees, but unfortunately there was no fruit on the banana trees. Suddenly, a rustling sound came from the front left. Wang Yuan quickly stopped and listened carefully. All of a sudden, a snake's head poked out, flicking its tongue at Wang Yuan. Whoa, what a thick cobra. Not only was Wang Yuan not afraid, he actually felt excited. He slowly moved toward the cobra. When he was 2 meters away, he stopped and tightened his grip on the branch in his hand. At this moment, the cobra also leaned back, its head arching into a curve. This was the prelude to an attack. Now, Wang Yuan swung the branch at the cobra. Smack! It struck the cobra right at its vital spot, and the cobra's head toppled to the left. Wang Yuan threw away the branch, leaped forward, and pounced on the cobra, grabbing its head with his left hand and lifting it up. Ha! So fat. Wang Yuan laughed loudly. The snake was as thick as a child's arm and about 2.5 meters long. It had probably been stunned by the blow. It twisted its body, its tail hanging limply to the ground. Wang Yuan gripped the snake's head with his left hand, then wrapped the snake's body around his arm with his right hand. Picking up the branch and the oil drum, he headed back toward the beach. When he got to the beach, he saw the 3 women sitting under the coconut trees chatting, and Wang Yuan walked over. "Look, what did I catch?" Wang Yuan said, stretching out his left hand toward them. "Ah!" The 3 women screamed in fright. "Take it away, throw it out." The snake had probably already woken up and was constricting Wang Yuan's left hand until it was swollen and purple from congestion, and it kept flicking its tongue from time to time. The 3 women were scared pale. Hee, this is a delicacy." Wang Yuan pulled out his small knife and in just a few swift moves cut off the snake's head. He threw the snake's head into the sea and tossed the body aside. Seeing the snake's body still writhing, the 3 women shrank back in fear. "Hurry up and throw it away. Throw it farther," Rin Yuan shouted. It's fine. It's already dead," Wang Yuan said. "Tonight I'll make snake meat for you to eat." "I'm not eating that. Disgusting," Jiang Yan said. "I'm not eating it either. It's too scary," Zhang Lanfang said. Exactly. None of us are eating it," Rin Yuan said. All right then. Well, it's getting dark. While it's still light, let's build a shelter," Wang Yuan said. "Okay." The 3 women all stood up together. "Tell us, how do we do it?" Rin Yuan said. The 3 women looked at Wang Yuan. Well, go over there and pick some leaves and bring them back. There are some palm trees and banana trees over there. Wang Yuan pointed in the direction he had just come from. Okay, let's go. Rin Yuan called out. Wait a second, take some sticks with you and beat at the grass. It can help guard against snakes, insects, rats, and ants. Wang Yuan handed a branch to Rin Yuan. Got it. Rin Yuan replied, taking it. Wang Yuan walked toward the reef to the north, while the three women headed toward the jungle. Wang Yuan looked around among the reefs to see if there was a suitable place. Suddenly, he spotted a huge reef, 5 or 6 meters high and 7 or 8 meters wide, slanting southward on top. This place was excellent. Wang Yuan searched the surrounding area for marine debris, and there was quite a lot of marine debris around the reefs: bamboo and wood, floating balls, foam boards, rotten fishing nets. He gathered quite a bit of debris and put it under that reef. And the three women also came over, each carrying quite a few large leaves. Wang Yuan, are these leaves enough? Zhang Lanfang said. The three women put down the leaves. Enough, Wang Yuan said. Then what should we do next? Rin Yuan asked. You go gather some dry grass, then pick up some marine debris. Okay. The three women turned and left. Wang Yuan picked up more than a dozen bamboo poles and laid them side by side on the ground, spacing each one more than 20 centimeters apart. Then he placed 3 more bamboo poles horizontally across them, one in the middle and one at each end. He found a rotten fishing net and used a small knife to take out some rope from it, then used the rope to tie all the bamboo poles together. After that, he spread the leaves over them and tied them down with rope as well. By this time, it had gotten dark. The three women had also brought back quite a bit of marine debris, along with a pile of dry grass. Well then, let's go get the suitcase and the coconuts. As he spoke, he walked toward the coconut trees, with the three women following behind. There were 14 coconuts in total. Each of the three women carried 4, while Wang Yuan put 2 in his backpack and carried them on his back, carried the suitcase, picked up that dead snake, and walked back holding the oil drum. When the three women saw Wang Yuan carrying the dead snake, they all kept far away from him. The group set their things down, and Wang Yuan said, well then, let's lift this up and set it here. Wang Yuan lifted the tied-together bamboo and leaves, and the three women came over to help. The bamboo was propped diagonally against the reef, forming an A-frame shelter. The space inside was fairly large, but both ends were open. Wang Yuan picked up a few wooden boards and blocked the eastern opening, but the top still couldn't be covered, so he took a few more leaves and tied them on top, sealing the opening. He left only one exit facing the sea. Yay! Rin Yuan jumped up excitedly, ran in front of Wang Yuan, and with a smack, kissed him on the face. Wang Yuan touched the spot where he had been kissed. I was just too excited. Rin Yuan's face flushed red with embarrassment. Zhang Lanfang gave her a look that said, I understand you. Jiang Yin remained expressionless, still as aloof as ever. Lay these foam boards inside, so it'll be more comfortable to sleep tonight, Wang Yuan said. Then he put the suitcase inside as well. The three women arranged things in the shelter. The inside space was very large, enough for 5 or 6 people to stay without it feeling cramped. Outside, Wang Yuan found a rotten piece of wood and used a small knife to drill a little hole in it. Then he found a branch and sharpened one end. He spread some leaves on the ground, placed the wood on top, set the sharpened tip of the branch into the small hole, and rubbed the branch forcefully downward with his hands. After a while, Rin Yuan came out and looked at Wang Yuan curiously. What are you doing? The other 2 women had also finished arranging the shelter and came out to watch Wang Yuan. Starting a fire by friction. Wang Yuan said, Can it really start a fire? Rin Yuan said, looking unconvinced. Just watch and see. It's smoking, it's smoking. After a while, Rin Yuan cried out. The smoke grew thicker and thicker. Wang Yuan grabbed a handful of dry grass, poured the ember from the leaves onto it, cupped the dry grass in both hands, and blew on it. After a moment, with a whoosh, it caught fire. Yay! Rin Yuan jumped up again. Wang Yuan set down the flame, added a handful of dry grass, then some dry branches, and after a while added thicker wood. The fire grew bigger. All 3 women looked at Wang Yuan with admiration. The 4 of them sat down around the fire. Wang Yuan took a piece of bamboo and carved several skewers, then brought over the dead snake. The 3 women were so frightened that they hid far away. Wang Yuan skinned the dead snake and placed it on a leaf, then took it to the seaside to rinse it off and threw the entrails into the sea. He returned to the fire and sat down, cut the snake meat into several sections, and threaded them onto the bamboo skewers, making more than a dozen skewers in total. He picked up 4 skewers and roasted them over the fire. The 3 women watched Wang Yuan busily working with looks of disgust on their faces. After a while, a burst of aroma drifted out, and as they watched the skewers sizzling and dripping oil, they couldn't help swallowing. Wang Yuan picked up a skewer of meat, took a bite, and started eating it, even deliberately smacking his lips. It's cooked. Delicious. Wang Yuan held the other 3 skewers out to the 3 women. The 3 women looked at the golden brown skewers and kept shaking their heads. In the end, Ren Yuanyuan couldn't resist and took one, closing her eyes as she bit into it. It smells so good. Ren Yuanyuan said, Sister Fong, Sister Yen, it's really delicious, just without salt. You should eat too. After that, no one could resist the it smells so good law. Wang Yuan grilled all the remaining skewers, and the 4 of them finished them together. Have some coconut juice, 1 for every 2 people. Okay, the 3 women said. Wang Yuan opened 2 coconuts and handed 1 to Ren Yuanyuan and 1 to Jiang Yan. Ren Yuanyuan took a few sips and passed it to Zhang Lanfang, who finished the rest. Jiang Yan drank slowly. After a few sips, she blushed and handed it to Wang Yuan. Wang Yuan didn't mind and finished it directly. Brother Yuan, why don't you pick all the coconuts? Leave 2 on each tree. Ren Yuanyuan asked. Leave a bit of hope. Wang Yuan said. Sister Fong, Sister Yen, how did you survive? How did you get here? Ren Yuanyuan said. After the accident, I blacked out. When I woke up, I was on this beach, and President Jiang was over there too. The 2 of us just looked for some seafood around here to eat. Zhang Lanfang said. Let's put the coconuts inside. Wang Yuan picked up 2 coconuts and walked into the shelter. The 3 women put the coconuts inside together. Wang Yuan then took out the backpack, and the 4 of them sat down again. Let's have some fruit for dessert. Wang Yuan opened the backpack and handed it to the 3 women, then took out a cactus fruit and started peeling it. What's this? Ren Yuanyuan asked. Cactus fruit. Wang Yuan said. As he spoke, he took a bite. Sweet and sour, really delicious. Delicious, kind of like dragon fruit. Ren Yuanyuan also peeled one and ate it. Then the 3 women started peeling and eating the cactus fruit. Sister Fong, Yuanyuan, do you need to go relieve yourselves? Jiang Yan said with a flushed face. Let's go together. Ren Yuanyuan said, You're not allowed to peek. Wang Yuan was speechless. The 3 women got up, laughing, and walked off together. Wang Yuan found a few wooden boards and laid them beside the fire, then spread a few foam boards on top. Picked up a foam float, cut it in half with a bamboo strip, used 1/2 as a pillow, and lay down. The chattering voices of the 3 women came from afar. Let's do it here. By the moonlight, the 3 women came behind a reef. Wow. Sister Fong, your pee is really forceful. Ren Yuanyuan cried. You damn girl. Are you asking for a beating? Zhang Lanfang scolded with a red face, glancing toward the campfire as she spoke. Can't you keep your voice down? Hee, it's fine. We're so far away, he can't hear us. Ren Yuanyuan said with a giggle. What's wrong? Zhang Lanfang and Jiang Yan both looked at her again. Ren Yuanyuan deliberately put on a surprised expression and said, Sister Yan, I noticed something about you. What did you notice? Jiang Yan asked in confusion. I noticed you might never have had a boyfriend. You can tell that too? How did you figure it out? Jiang Yan looked at her blankly. Because Sister Fong has been married, so you and Sister Fong are a little different. What's different? The 2 women sized each other up, then turned to look at her in puzzlement. I noticed that. Ren Yuanyuan deliberately kept them in suspense. Hey, you damn girl, spit it out. Zhang Lanfang scolded. Ren Yuanyuan pulled up her pants and moved closer, whispering. I noticed that Sister Yen pees even more forcefully than Sister Fong. After saying that, she turned and ran off laughing. You female pervert. Pervert. Jiang Yan's face instantly turned red. Oh my. You damn girl. See if I don't beat you to death. Zhang Lanfang jumped up and chased after her. Quick. President Jiang, catch her. Okay. The 2 women ran after her. When they were almost at the fire, they saw Wang Yuan lying there, and Ren Yuanyuan quickly stopped, raising both hands and saying, All right. I surrender. Spare me, you 2 big sisters. You little brat. Just wait till next time and see if I don't beat you to death. Zhang Lanfang said viciously. Yes. Many thanks to the heroine for sparing my life. Hee. Ren Yuanyuan hurriedly cupped her hands in salute and said fawningly. Ren Yuanyuan quietly walked to Wang Yuan's side and crouched down. Seeing Wang Yuan with his eyes closed, she thought he was asleep, so she carefully picked up the other half of the pillow that Wang Yuan had cut off, and the 3 of them went into the shelter together. Wang Yuan opened his eyes and sat up. Then he found a foam float, split it vertically with a bamboo strip, took it to the entrance of the shelter, and said, Here, take this. Make do with it as a pillow. Then he turned around and went back to lie down. Two hands stretched out from inside the shelter and took the pillow back in, and after a while, bursts of laughter came from inside. This is surviving on a deserted island. It's almost 12 o'clock. Are they really this excited? Wang Yuan raised his wrist to look at his watch and thought to himself. Then he tossed a thick log onto the fire and lay down, drifting off drowsily. At this time, the three women were still whispering in the shelter. They spread the foam boards on the ground, lay on them, and chatted softly. Sister Fong, don't call me President Jiang anymore. Just call me Xiao Yin or Yin Yan. Being called President Jiang feels really awkward, Jiang Yin said. Xiao Yin, you really have never dated? Zhang Lanfang said. I don't know if it counts as dating. What happened? Ren Yuanyuan lifted her head and looked at Jiang Yin with a gossipy expression. When I was studying abroad in M country, I met a male classmate from M country. I came back in less than 2 months after we got together, and we broke up because of cultural differences. It's been almost half a year since we split up. Jiang Yin said. Then did you two do that? Ren Yuanyuan asked. Oh my, do what? We didn't even hold hands. By the way, what does a little brat like you know? Zhang Lanfang scolded. Sister Fong, were you really married? Jiang Yin asked. Already divorced. Oh, sorry. It's fine. We were apart more often than together, and on top of that our personalities didn't match, so we divorced. It's already been a year. Zhang Lanfang said. Sister Fong's ex-husband was a captain pilot, super handsome. Back then, the young girls chasing after him could line up for several whole streets. Ren Yuanyuan said. What would a little brat like you know? Speaking of which, haven't you never dated either? Just now you were even saying Xiao Yin piece forcefully. Zhang Lanfang said. Jiang Yin blushed bright red again. That's different. I'm right in the bloom of youth. A youthful, flourishing young beauty in the springtime of my life. As Ren Yuanyuan spoke, she used both little hands to cradle her face, looking smug. You mean to say we're very old? Zhang Lanfang said viciously. That's not what I meant. Hee. Then let me ask you, have you fallen for Wang Yuan? Zhang Lanfang said. Nonsense, no way. Ren Yuanyuan denied. Not yet? With that lecherous look in your eyes whenever you look at Wang Yuan, and you still won't admit it. At this moment, Jiang Yin also turned to look at Ren Yuanyuan. Then tell us, how did you two meet? And how did you end up on this island? Zhang Lanfang asked again. Ren Yuanyuan then told them what had happened after the accident. When she got to the part about encountering a shark while swimming over, the two women turned pale with fright. Only when she got to how the two of them made it ashore safely after a close call did they finally breathe a sigh of relief. Zhang Lanfang, being older after all and having more social experience, said to them, Let me say this. You must remember it. Go ahead, Ren Yuanyuan said, and Jiang Yin nodded repeatedly as well. Zhang Lanfang lowered her voice and said, Wang Yuan is the only man among us, and he also built this shelter. It can be said that we haven't contributed much, and he let us stay here, while he himself sleeps outside, which shows his character is pretty good. Judging from what Yuanyuan said, Wang Yuan is very capable at wilderness survival. As she spoke, the two women kept nodding. Zhang Lanfang continued, We don't know when the rescue team will come. Before they arrive, we have to save ourselves. We have to stay alive. Both women looked at Zhang Lanfang thoughtfully. There really aren't many people like Wang Yuan, so we have to hold on tight to him and not let him leave our sight alone. No matter where he goes, one of us has to follow him. We're just a burden to him. If he abandons us and leaves on his own, it would be understandable. After Zhang Lanfang finished speaking, she stared at the two women. No way, Ren Yuanyuan said uncertainly. All right, you can never truly know what's in someone's heart. We just need to be more careful from now on, Zhang Lanfang said. Jiang Yin seemed to be thinking about something. Ren Yuanyuan also fell into thought. The three women fell silent. At daybreak, Wang Yuan woke up from the cold. He looked at his watch. It was almost 6 o'clock. Even though they were on a tropical island, the morning sea breeze was still quite cool. The campfire had already gone out. Wang Yuan stretched, walked toward the jungle, took care of his personal business behind the thatch, then came back and carefully took the suitcase out of the shelter. Seeing that the three women were still sleeping soundly, he went outside, opened the suitcase, took out his toiletries, and went to the seaside to wash up. After washing up, Wang Yuan came back and put the toiletries back into the suitcase. Seeing that the three women still weren't awake, he sat down again beside the extinguished fire and began thinking. No one knew when the rescue team would come. To survive, There was a whole series of problems that had to be solved. The problems of shelter and clothing could only be considered barely solved. What remained were mainly food and water. Although there were more than a dozen coconuts, they wouldn't last long, and eating too many coconuts would cause diarrhea. Getting sick on the island could be fatal. There were some medicines in the suitcase for emergencies. He still had to try his luck deeper in the jungle. After all, the trees were dense there, so there were bound to be plenty of opportunities. With that thought, Wang Yuan stood up and searched among the reefs for marine debris. Mineral water bottles, rotten fishing nets, bamboo poles, pieces of rotten wood, cans, milk powder tins, and so on. As long as something seemed useful, he picked it up and brought it back. After a while, the three women all woke up and came out to see Wang Yuan scavenging. He had already collected a big pile. Jiang Yin curled her lip disdainfully. "Brother Yuan, did you use to collect scrap?" "Ha ha," Rin Yuan said. "These things will definitely come in handy." Wang Yuan put down a bundle of bamboo poles and said. Wang Yuan began sorting the pile into categories, then said, "You all go wash up, and when you're done we'll eat something." "Okay," Rin Yuan said. The three women went together into the thatch to take care of personal matters, then came back, took their toiletry bags, and walked to the seaside to wash up. Wang Yuan sorted and put the items away, then picked up the bamboo poles and used a small knife to shave them into several thin bamboo strips. He also took the torn fishing net apart and removed a few pieces, then used the fine cords from it to patch and weave together one torn fishing net and the thin bamboo strips. After the three women finished washing up, they gathered around to watch Wang Yuan busy at work. "What are you doing?" Rin Yuan asked. "Making a fish trap." "A fish trap?" The three women looked completely baffled. You'll see in a moment." The three women watched as Wang Yuan quickly made a cage more than a meter long, with a small opening at one end. He then cut off the bottom of a mineral water bottle, and cut off the bottle mouth as well. Then he made several vertical cuts at the bottle mouth and tied it to the opening of the cage. After that, he knotted a rope about 10 meters long and tied one end to the fish trap. Taking the fish trap and a plastic water bottle, he walked to the seaside, with the three women following behind curiously. Wang Yuan picked up a handful of small sea snails from the rocks by the shore and smashed them with a stone. Put them into the plastic water bottle and screwed on the cap, then used a small knife to poke several holes in the bottle, placed the bottle into the fish trap, and added a few stones inside as well. He hurled the fish trap into the sea with force and tied the rope to the reef. Turning around, he saw the three women looking at him with admiration all over their faces, and Wang Yuan touched his nose and said, "Well, let's go back and eat something." The group returned to the shelter, and Wang Yuan said, "One coconut for every two people. Let's eat some coconut flesh and cactus fruit." "Okay." The four of them shared and drank 2 coconuts worth of coconut water. And the 2 coconuts from last night were also cracked open by Wang Yuan with a stone and divided among them, one for each person. Everyone then ate a few more cactus fruits. You all get some rest. I'll go take a look around in the jungle." Wang Yuan stood up and said, "Wait a minute, I have a suggestion." Zhang Lanfang said. "What suggestion?" Wang Yuan sat back down. "We have 4 people now, and you're the only man. So why don't you be our captain? From now on, if there's anything that needs to be done, just tell us what to do, okay? That's not appropriate, is it?" Wang Yuan said. "I agree." Rin Yuan raised her hand and said, "I agree too." Jiang Yin said, "See, we all agree. Anyway, it's only temporary. Once the rescue team arrives, our group will automatically disband." Zhang Lanfang said, "All right then. If you're going into the jungle, we want to go with you too." Zhang Lanfang said. The other 2 women also nodded. "Well, only Yuan is wearing sneakers. You 2 are both wearing high heels, so it won't be convenient in the jungle." Wang Yuan said with a frown. "Then how about I go with you and they wait here?" Rin Yuan said. "No, if there's danger inside, you won't even be able to run." Wang Yuan said. "Aren't there still 2 pairs of shoes in the suitcase?" Rin Yuan said with a pout. "All right then." Rin Yuan took out 2 pairs of shoes, canvas shoes and sneakers, both size 42. "You can choose for yourselves." The 2 women looked at each other. Wang Yuan found a t-shirt in the suitcase, cut it into strips with a small knife, and stuffed them into the 2 pairs of shoes. Only then did the 2 women suddenly understand. Then Jiang Yin put on the sneakers, and Zhang Lanfang put on the canvas shoes. The 2 of them stood up and took a couple of steps to try them out. They were acceptable. Although not very comfortable, they would no longer get in the way. "All right, let's set off." Wang Yuan poured the cactus fruit out of the backpack and said, Yuan, this backpack is yours again. We'll take a few bottles." "Okay." Rin Yuanyuan put several bottles into the backpack and happily slung it on her back. Wang Yuan took the peanut oil jug and a tree branch, and the four of them set off. Wang Yuan beat at the grass as the four of them slowly walked deeper in. When they reached the edge of the woods, the four stopped, and Wang Yuan said, "The woods are right ahead. It's extremely dense inside, and there might be poisonous insects or wild beasts, so everyone must be careful." "Got it," the three women said. Just as the four were about to go in, suddenly the sound of an engine rang out. "Listen, the sound of an engine," Rin Yuanyuan cried out. "Could it be the rescue team?" Jiang Yin said happily. "Is it the rescue team? Then let's hurry back," Zhang Lanfang said. "Hurry, hurry, hurry." The four of them stopped bothering to beat the grass and charged toward the seaside. They leaped over the bushes and reached the thatch, with the reef ahead and the beach to the left. "Stop! Wait a second." At this moment Wang Yuan said, "What's wrong?" The three women, who were running more slowly, all stopped and asked, "Something's not right. Let's observe first. What could possibly be wrong? Even if it's not the rescue team, we can still ask them for help." Jiang Yan said, "No, listen to me. Let's figure out the situation first before going out. You just don't want to leave. On this island, you're the only man. You want the three of us beauties to keep you company, don't you? You don't just want to be the captain. You want to be emperor, right?" Jiang Yan said. Wang Yuan looked at her in shock. Jiang Yin gave a snort and walked over. Rin Yuanyuan and Zhang Lanfang also walked over, and when they reached Wang Yuan's side, both looked at him apologetically. The three women headed toward the reef. Wang Yuan shook his head helplessly, walked to the edge of the thatch, parted the grass, and stuck his head out to observe the sea. In the north, a motorboat with 4 speedboats behind it was rapidly heading south. The boats got closer and closer, and soon the situation became clear. 7 or 8 people were standing on the deck of the motorboat, each carrying an AK-47. Each of the 4 speedboats had 3 people, 1 steering and 2 holding guns. "Not good, pirates," Wang Yuan thought. The 3 women were quickly walking through the reef toward the shore, and because the rocks blocked their view, none of them noticed what was happening. The boats were moving fast and soon passed by. As soon as the 3 women reached the shore, they saw the stern of the boats. Luckily, the pirates hadn't noticed them. Phew! Wang Yuan let out a breath, and his heart, which had been hanging in suspense, finally settled. He walked to the shelter, looked at his watch. It was 10 o'clock, picked up a coconut, and sat down. He cracked it open and gulped it down. The 3 women walked over, looking at him awkwardly. I'm sorry," Jiang Yin murmured, wishing she could crawl into a crack in the ground. "Captain, I'm sorry," Zhang Lanfang said with a flushed face. "Captain, please forgive us," Rin Yuanyuan said. "I really don't want to be the captain," Wang Yuan said. Jiang Yin lowered her head in embarrassment, unable to say a word. "I don't even know what to say, but we really feel guilty. From now on, you're the only captain I recognize. Whatever you tell me to do, I'll do it. I'll listen to you and everything. Please forgive us." Suddenly, a burst of dense gunfire came from the south, with several explosions in between. Rat-tat-tat, boom, rat-tat-tat. Wang Yuan calmly drank his coconut juice, while the 3 women were already frightened out of their wits. After a thunderous boom, the gunfire stopped. After a while, Wang Yuan said, "Hide now." The 3 women still looked at him blankly in confusion. "Move," Wang Yuan shouted angrily. As soon as he finished speaking, he hid behind a reef. The 3 women also quickly found places to hide. "Don't stick your heads out," Wang Yuan shouted. At that moment, the sound of engines came from the south, getting closer and closer, and soon it was nearby. Wang Yuan observed them through a crack in the rocks. Now that they were closer, he could see them clearly. There were more than a dozen people standing on the deck of the motorboat, most of them black, with 2 or 3 white people among them. There was only 1 person steering each speedboat. The people on the motorboat's deck were jumping, shouting, and cheering. Some were guzzling from bottles, and some were firing a few shots into the sky with their AK-47s. Soon the boats passed by, and only then did they breathe a sigh of relief. The 3 women finally stuck their heads out and looked in the direction the boats had gone. Only when even their shadows could no longer be seen did they collapse to the ground. Wang Yuan stood up and walked toward the shore. He untied the rope securing the fish trap and pulled it up. The 3 women followed him over, watching Wang Yuan curiously. "Captain, can this really catch fish?" Rin Yuanyuan said. "Yes." Wang Yuan opened the opening and glanced inside. A moment later, he poured out 4 or 5 palm-sized fish and several big crabs. "Yay! Captain, you're amazing. I love you to death," Rin Yuanyuan cried out. Wang Yuan loaded the fish trap again and threw it back into the sea. After setting it in place, he handed the fruit knife to Zhang Lanfang and said, "Well, Sister Fang, you all clean these up. I'll go back and start a fire." "Okay." Zhang Lanfang took the knife and called the two women over to clean the fish. Wang Yuan picked up the crabs and took them back, put them into a milk powder tin, and then started a fire again. Before long, the fire was ready, and the three women also brought back the cleaned fish. The four of them skewered the fish and crabs on bamboo sticks and started roasting them. After the fish and crabs were done, they shared the meal. Wang Yuan then opened two more coconuts and handed them to the three women, then smashed open the emptied coconuts. The four of them dug out the coconut meat and finished eating it. I'm going to take a look around the jungle. You all rest." Wang Yuan said. "Better if we go together," Ren Yuanyuan said. The three women all looked at Wang Yuan expectantly. Jiang Yin stayed silent, feeling guilty the whole time. "No need, Sister Fang and I will go together," Wang Yuan said. "You two stay here and do something else." Wang Yuan picked up a few stones and stacked them over the fire into a stove, then took the milk powder can to the seaside, filled it with seawater, and set it on the stove to boil. Fill the bottles with seawater. When the water in the can boils, add more water when the water level inside gets low. "What is this for?" Ren Yuanyuan asked curiously. "Nothing, just saw that you had nothing to do, so I'm making something for you to play with," Wang Yuan said. "Oh, don't forget to add water and firewood." Wang Yuan checked the time. It was 12:30 and said, "Sister Fang, let's set off."